you guys. Hey, what is up? My churi and my jhumka, they all make sound. I feel so today. Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing very nice. I'm sending a lot of hugs and positivity to all of you. Hi, if you're new, welcome to the channel. I really hope you enjoy the content. And if you do, please do consider subscribing. Welcome to the world of books where we are obsessed, literally obsessed with books. I am sure you will love it. As the title and the thumbnail has already told you, then I don't know why I'm saying this again, but I am going to say it again. This video is a compilation. Is compilation how you pronounce it? Compilation. A compilation of all of the popular books that I have read in the past like 4-ish months. I have talked about them here and there. Some of them are my 6-star reads. So like you are going to be bored of listening to them. But I'll be putting timestamps so you can skip it if you want to, if you're a regular viewer. But if you get most of your recommendations from BOOKTOK, which is banned in India, Bookish Reels, Bookstagram, BookTube, like this channel, then you must see these books like literally everywhere. And you must think to yourself, oh my god, every single person is reading this. Everyone is talking about this, but is it really worth the hype? Like, should I actually spend money on it? I'm here to tell you if you should. Spoiler alert, for most of them, yes, you should. I mean, I'm literally nobody to tell you what to do with your money and your time. I don't know why I do this, but I'm going to assume that I'm one of your bestest bookish friends, and I'm going to tell you how good these books are or how bad these books are and whether you should be spending your money and your precious time on these or not. Now, without any further ado, let's begin the video. Let's start with a book I recently read, which is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walter. This one is a popular book, but it's like really old when it comes to popularity. Like, I remember there was a phase where everybody was reading this book and I was not included in that phase because I did not read romance at that time, but now I do. This is a YA romance. It's the story of two people who meet at a wedding, and there are these two families and they play games together, and these two people are helping each other with the game. But there are many underlying emotions, just like any other YA book, and it is done well. It is done so well. This is such a different vibe from any other YA book I have read. I don't think I've ever read a YA book set up in the summer, so those summery vibes have never been there, which is there in this book. Plus the games, the excitement, and the emotional vulnerability quotient is like so high. It is so sweet, swoony, it is so adorable, and it is definitely worth your time. If you're looking for a YA romance, look nowhere else. Get this one, you will love it. Wow, the sun has decided to come out while I'm shooting the video. Yay! Next is another book which I recently read, and you're gonna hear a lot about it on the channel now. I'm gonna be obsessed with it, and that is Carrie, Sotto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Oh my god. After reading 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Taylor Jenkins Reid has been my goddess, and there is no doubt about it. And then I read One True Love, so that is also a popular book which I could have included in the video, and that book is good. But then I have been wanting to read this book since so long, and my eyes just fell on it, and I picked it up, and the first chapter had me going. Adrenaline rush that I felt in the first chapter was just so addictive that I could not put the book down. It is such an amazing book, and as much as I liked One True Loves, that feeling that I got from 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, where Evelyn Hugo was this badass character, that is the kind of character Carrie Sotto is. Carrie Sotto is another one of those amazing badass on your face character. Literally, if anybody says anything bad about Carrie Sotto to me, I will not be friends with them. Honestly, I do get it. Even Evelyn Hugo was like this. There are some things that Evelyn Hugo and Carrie Sotto do which is not socially acceptable, or they are like borderline rude, but I don't care. They are boss women. They are awesome. I love them. I wish I could be like them. Like, I know there's a people pleaser inside me, and I want that people pleaser to sort of die, and I want to become like these women. It's so good, great for beginners. I did not tell you what this book is about. It's basically the story of Carrie Sotto, who is a tennis player, and she's like this greatest tennis player of all times, and she has retired, but now she has come back due to some reasons. So even if you don't know anything about tennis, you can read this one, because I don't know anything about tennis at all. Even then, I enjoyed it, and I'm probably gonna start playing tennis now. Next up, I'm gonna talk about Hello Beautiful by Anne Napolitano, because I talked about this in the August wrap up, but I talked about it towards the end of the video. I don't know how many of you guys watched it, and I just really really want you to know that there is a book like this that exists, and it's literally the best book ever. I think if there is one book that you take away from this entire video where you're like, oh, what did Anshul say? Like, which one should I pick? I will point to this book. This is the story of 4 sisters who are knit together in a way where nothing can break them, until one day William comes into their life, and William and Julia, one of the sisters, have this picture perfect life, and Julia imagines that her life is going to be perfect with him. But William's past catches up with him, and instead of confiding in Julia, he confides in one of the other sisters, and her name is Sylvie. And we have the other 2 sisters also, but their POV is not there, so I keep forgetting their name. I'm a bad person. As I started the book, it became dark. We start with William's perspective. However, as I moved forward, and then there was Sylvie's perspective, there was Julia's perspective, and the story progresses with time, which means a lot of years pass as you move forward in the book. I have fallen in love with this book, not because it's so dramatic, or not because it's dark, but because these are characters that I will never ever forget. The amount of vulnerability, the amount of emotions, and you guys know I am so high up there when it comes to emotions, vulnerability. Those things are like so important to me, and if that is there in a book and it is done well, it's not done in an overreactive manner, I am there for it. And that is what was there in this book. This cover, this name of the book, it all means something. Every single thing in this book means something. It will slow your time down, and it will make you feel silent in your mind. I was literally in a vacuum when I was reading it. Also, there were, like I said this in the wrap-up video also, there are like 2 or 3 pages where William and Sylvie are speaking to each other, and I have not read anything that's that beautiful, and I literally had goosebumps when I read those 2-3 pages. Like, what did I just read? It's so good. So yeah, I am like the biggest fan of Hello Beautiful. It is definitely worth the hype, and it is definitely a must read. Next we have a thriller, which is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell, which is one of the most popular thrillers that I have seen recently on BookTok, Bookstagram. That's the reason I'm talking about it, obviously. This is the story of a woman who loses her young child, Ella, who is 15 years old, who goes outside and then she never comes back, and then years have passed and the mother is trying to move on when she meets someone and they go on a date, and then when she meets that man's daughter, it has this uncanny resemblance to her own daughter who she lost years ago. Is it worth the hype? 50-50, because on one hand it is definitely so well written, it is so dark and will leave you feeling really sad and basically dark. But the reason I say it's probably not worth the hype is because it is less of a thriller and more of a mystery book. This is the kind of book where you enjoy the writing and you enjoy the mystery aspect of it throughout the book. Also, the plot twist is not that unpredictable. You can predict it if you pay attention to it since the beginning. So in that sense, it is not worth the hype. But with the writing style and the darkness quotient, and if you want to read something gruesome, then this is definitely worth the hype. I would suggest read the trigger warnings, like literally, like it's so important. I definitely enjoyed the book a lot. I felt hollow inside after finishing the book, especially the epilogue, and I still do think about this book. Also great for beginners. This one also is great for beginners. If you like Little Women, then there's no way you can miss out on this one. Next we have a romance, which is Final Offer by Lauren Asher. Also the first book, The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, which is a part of a series, the Dreamland Billionaire series, where their grandfather has died and he has left the will to these 3 brothers and the father, and these 3 brothers have to do something to, what do you say? I always forget what to say for this, like to get on the, no, to like acclaim the will, I don't know. And their father sucks, so they're trying to do everything they can to take upon the will or like acclaim the will, whatever it is. Each book is the story of one of those brothers, and this is the 3rd book. This is the story of Callahan and Alana. This one, again, I won't say that it is worth the hype because the hype is way too much. I can see why. It is very beginner friendly, so if you've never read something like this is definitely something you can start with. And so I think that beginner friendly books of any genre do very well when it comes to the virality part. So I do understand why it is so viral, but I still don't think it is worth that much of hype. However, if you decide to read any book out of the entire series, it should be this one. It's long, and even then it is totally worth it, and it's totally worth your money, and it's totally worth your time. The level of self-love, the level of self-awareness that each character has, and the character arc of how they start out and how they end is just amazing. It also deals with mental health, it also deals with addiction in a very sensitive manner. Basically, it is an amazing book. Maybe not worth the hype, but definitely worth your time. Next up, we have Finlay Donovan is killing it. This, spoiler alert again, is definitely worth the hype. This is the story of a single mother who is doing everything to just keep her life together, and she is a thriller writer, and she goes to meet her literary agent at a cafe, and they're discussing the plot of a new book, when somebody who is sitting beside her listens to it, and she thinks that she is a hit woman, and then that woman hires Finlay Donovan as a hit woman to kill her husband. I was not giving this book priority because one, it is so hyped, and I just get scared when books are hyped whether they will live up to the hype or not, and two, it is a cozy mystery. I have never read cozy mysteries earlier, so I was like, what is this going to be like? It was good. It was so good, and it has opened up a new world for me where I am going to get into cozy mysteries now. So hilarious. It's so funny. The main character is obviously the showstopper, and so yes, this is definitely worth the hype, and you can read it as a beginner. It's a part of a series. I have only read the first one. I cannot wait to read the other three. They're just like really expensive, so I'll have to buy them one by one. Next, one of the most viral thrillers of the year, we have YellowFace by Rebecca F. Kuang. Is it worth the hype? Again, it's a yes and a no, and I'll tell you why. Yes, because there are themes discussed in this book which I was shocked that it's actually written in a book, because I think it should not be allowed, about the publishing industry, what it's like to be an author, and even other themes like racism, the cancel culture, all of those things. It's so true and it's so raw. I was literally like, oh my god, and I could imagine R.F. Kuang just like sitting on the keyboard and be like, hey, let me put this in also. Hey, I'm gonna put this in also. And then it was actually published, and I think that in that sense, this is definitely worth the hype. It was an amazing read. It is not worth the hype when it comes to the thriller aspect of it. It is a political thriller and a literary thriller, so yes, it makes sense that it was not that fast paced, but even in that, I think there were parts of it like in the middle where I got really bored, which I did not feel like those parts needed to be there, and if that was not there, it would also be that thrilling. So if you're only looking for a fast paced thriller for like the plot of it, then this is not your book. But if you're looking for a literary thriller where you want to read a villain's POV and somehow still root for her in places here and there, and read about the publishing industry and the tea that is there in the publishing industry, then this is definitely your book. This one I wouldn't recommend to beginners. I think you should read a few books before you start reading this book, but if you have been reading since quite some time, like since a few months, and you are looking for something like this, then this is definitely your book. Next is Masters of Death by Oliver Blake, which has recently been popping up like literally everywhere. This is actually an old book, but it is printed again now that Oliver Blake is being discovered and everybody is realizing that she is a gem of an author. This one is the story of Viola, who is a real estate agent, and she wants to sell a house, but something is troubling her, and so she goes to this one person that she thinks will help her, but then once she goes over there, she realizes that she is sucked into a whole other game. And now this sounds so simple, but now let me tell you the other side of it. Viola, who is a real estate agent, is also a vampire. The trouble that she's having in the house is a ghost, and the person she goes to for help is Death's godson. That changes everything, doesn't it? And with Death's godson, who is Fox, we also see a reaper, a demon, an angel. This is the craziest found family type of a book that I've ever read, and it's fantasy, and honestly this one actually isn't as hyped as it should be. It is such a good book. It is definitely difficult to follow because there are so many timelines going on and there are so many characters, and it's not like linear where, oh, this happened then this happened. It's going here and there, but then it all does come together, and you do start to understand what is happening after like 60-70 pages. But that is true for like any Oliver Blake book. You need to give her time. Now, is it worth it to give her time? Yes, definitely. I am telling you, you have never read something like this. You just haven't. I can assure you of that. After reading like hundreds and hundreds of books, I have never read something like this. This one is a book that you cannot miss out on, and I do recommend it to beginners too. Again, not as like your first book, but if you want to step into fantasy or you just want to read a crazy book, okay, then this is your book. If you want to see what books can do, where fiction can go, how it can peak sometimes, then this is your book. Next is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. This is the story of Elsie, who is a theoretical physicist, and she's trying to make it, but she's not able to. But then she applies for a job job where she thinks that it will finally be her chance to make it, but she is obstructed by another physicist who is an experimental physicist, and there's like this feud going on between theoretical physicists and experimental physicists. These words are so difficult to pronounce together. And her rival Jake is actually known to hate on theoretical physicists, but he is also the main love interest in the book. So it is an academic rivals to lovers love story. It's science and spice, and there is literally no better combination in the world. It is such an easy book to read. It is so cute. It is adorable. But is it worth the hype? Not according to me. I loved the book so much, but I would not run to buy this book first, like before any of the other books over here. So if the plot excites you and you're looking for an adult romance that is a mix of science and spice and awesomeness, adorable people, then this is definitely your book and you can go for it. But if you are thinking whether you should buy this as the first book from this entire list, I would say no. Next up we have Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, which is like an OG popular book which I had not read, but I finally did. This is the story of the Prince of Wales, Henry, and the first son of America, Alex, and they fall in love, but it's not that easy for them. Oh, my books just fell. It's not that easy for them to fall in love and just like stay together because of the positions that they are in. This is also a movie, but I would suggest that you read the book because the book was so much better. The characters amazing. The main two characters, Alex and Henry, amazing. It is such a powerful book. It is captivating. It is very visual, so when you're reading it, it's very easy to imagine it. Perfectly fast paced, perfectly adorable, so cute in so many places, amazing quotable lines, everything good. This one is definitely worth the hype. Great for beginners. Next we have again one of the most anticipated books of 2023, Happy Place by Emily Henry. I'm telling you, it is worth the hype. It is so good. This is the story of Harriet and Win, who always take a trip every year with other 4 of their friends, and they have to take it again this year, except this year they have been separated since 6 months and they cannot tell it to anybody, so now they have to act like they're together. So there's fake dating, there's second chance romance, and a little bit of miscommunication. I hate miscommunication so much, but I think it's only Emily Henry's writing that can make me like miscommunication, because I loved it in this book. The Happy Place vibes, so good, written so well. Win, the main guy character, amazing. The vulnerability, amazing. The other 4 characters, amazing. Found family vibes, validated so many of my feelings, and Harriet was such a real person. Win, such a real person, and even the other 4 friends, it just felt so real, and you just don't see romances like this. So yes, if you want to read a romance and you're debating whether you should read this one or not, you definitely should. One or the other character will make you feel seen in your real life. Next is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. Yeah, Honeyman. This is the story of Eleanor Oliphant, who leads a very simple life. Everything is set up in a routine for her. Nothing can change it, except sometimes you see where she questions everything and she's like, am I actually fine? You should only know this before going into the book. That is what I knew when I went into the book, and it is so good. It is definitely slow paced in the first 100 pages. You sort of have to stick with it if you don't like slow paced books, but Eleanor Oliphant is such an adorable character. She's funny that you want to read more of her routine life, and so it was not boring for me. But if you don't like slow paced books, it may be boring for you, but stick with it because after 100 pages it gets even better. Eleanor Oliphant is literally one of those characters that will never ever leave you, and the plot twist that is there towards the end of the book, oh my god, it's another OG hyped up book, and it is totally worth the hype. Like so worth the hype. Definitely a must read. I wouldn't recommend it to beginners, especially if you don't like slow paced books. If you are okay with the slow pace and you want to read sort of like a character driven book of this grey complex character, then you will love this book a lot. So even if you're a beginner, go ahead. Not as your first book, but after just like a few books, you can definitely read this one. The last 2 books, first we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, which is a story of 2 people, Sam and Sadie, who meet each other when they were children, and then they meet years later and they come together and they build games, and then that goes sort of viral. Not viral, I mean there's no virality, but they become famous and now they are world-class game makers, and you see what happens with them. This one is not a romance, it is about love. That is what the tagline says, and it is so true. This is so not a romance, but yes, it is definitely about love. love, not only the love between Sam and Sadie, but the love in like so many other relationships. The love between a parent and a child, the love between co-workers, the love between two friends, the love of brotherhood, the love of sisterhood, so many types of love. And it again is one of the most beautiful books ever. It is so sad though, like it's really sad, and it gave me strong A Little Life vibe. Not because the book is like A Little Life at all, just the vibes are insanely similar. So if you liked A Little Life, I think you would really enjoy it. It also has a lot of game stuff in it, so if you are not into gaming, then you probably won't enjoy it and you will get bored, so keep that in mind. But if you are okay with the game part, because the game is literally described as art in it, not just like randomly, oh, I'm gonna play this video game, not like that. It's literally art, and it defines a big part of these characters' personalities. And if you're okay with that, definitely go ahead with it, and it is so worth the hype. Last but not the least, we have Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. Is this worth the hype? No. This one again is an extremely hyped book, and if you watch my channel since like a few months at this point, you will know that I love this book. I think I gave it 5 stars, and I literally loved every single minute of it. The way it is hyped, that's not what the book is like. It's not like Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, or it's not like Carrie Sotto is back where she's like on your face. She's just being who she is, and you just enjoy the ride. Also, it is not only her story, it is also the story of so many other people involved in her life, like her daughter, her husband, her work. And so I love the book, and I highly recommend it. Even if you are a beginner, it's so easy to read. If you go into the book listening to the hype, there are chances that you don't like it, and I don't want that, because it's a very good book. I don't want you to not like it simply because you're like, why is everybody talking about it so much? It's not that. Don't go into it because of the hype. Get into it because you like the plot of the book, and if you want like a heartwarming story, get into it because of that. And with that, we come towards the end of the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If there are any other popular books that you want me to read, you can put it in the comment section and I will read it. I have many other popular books that I am going to read soon. We have Fourth Wing, Babel, Powerless, which I got like a couple days back, so stay tuned for that. Also, I'll see you guys again very soon.